Most Amazon FBA booksellers actually find their books locally, meaning they go to a thrift store or they do a local meetup with somebody, they go to a garage sale, they do a bulk buy. But I'm here to tell you that there's another way to buy books, and that is actually buying books directly on Amazon and flipping them back on Amazon. And the way that you do that is utilizing a Chrome extension called Keepa, particularly the track product feature. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I took 4 books and basically doubled, tripled, quadrupled my money just by using this one feature. All right, the first book that I flipped, I bought on Amazon for $4.75, and I flipped it for $115 and made a profit of $85. And that book is called Computer Shorthand. I purchased this on July 1st, 2022, and that time period would be this point in time right here, where the price of the book dropped from $195 all the way down to $4.75. Now, how could I possibly know when this would happen? Well, because Keepa has this track product feature, you basically have the ability to track any product or any book on Amazon. And so when I found this book listing and I looked at the Keepa history, I basically saw that, hey, this book had sold a number of times for $80 to $100. Remember that this green sales rank, when it drops, indicates that the book sold. The black line is the use price. And if you kind of overlap those two, it gives you an indication of how often the book sells and also kind of what the book sells for. And so back in June, when I started tracking this, I said, hey, if this book ever gets to $12 or below, send me an email and maybe I'll end up buying it. And it actually happened that about a month later, that did happen. For some reason, a seller listed it for $4.75. I went ahead and bought that. And again, the reason why I decided to buy that was I kind of went through this criteria here, and I'll explain a little later. But it basically could be profitable if I were to buy it at that $4.75, considering the historical data that I saw. And yeah, I went ahead and I bought it. So just to show you how the track product feature works is, first you need to have the Chrome extension downloaded. So if you don't have that downloaded, just go to the Chrome web store, type in Keepa, you can add it to Chrome. And then when you're looking at any listing, you can hover over the graph. So if you're looking over a listing, you can scroll down, and when the Keepa chart pops up, you can go to track product, and you have the option to choose to track either the Amazon new price, the third-party new price, or the use price. And you can and so basically what I said is, okay, if this book's ever $12 or less, send me a notification, and I want you to track this book for 3 years. So basically I say update tracking, and what's going to happen is, if that book ever reaches $12 or lower, then I would get an email. Okay, so that's what happened here, and I ended up purchasing the book. Now, whenever you decide to track a book, you kind of want to take these sort of criteria into account to help you determine like what you should be tracking the book for. So the first thing that I do when I come across a listing is just make sure that, okay, if I am going to track this book, I kind of want to track the book for a price that's undervalued or much lower than what the book has historically sold for. So in the example with this book, I wouldn't want to track this book for $85 because that's what it historically sells for. And it doesn't do me any good to buy this book for $85 if I was interested in making money off it. What I would need to do is buy the book at an undervalued price. I would need to buy it at a price where there's some differential. Maybe that's $20 or $10 or somewhere where I can actually take the book and flip it for what it has historically sold for, and then there's some margin that I can squeeze out of it. So in this case, I decided to track the book for $12, which is definitely a lot less than 2 or 3 times the actual historical data. But this book also doesn't really sell a lot, so there's some inherent risk when you're buying products or buying books that don't sell very often. But for me, I kind of just chose this arbitrary dollar amount of $12, and really, you can decide to track the book for whatever you want. You can say, I want to track it for $8. I want to track it for $25. It's pretty arbitrary, but the goal is you want to track it for a price that's undervalued, that's much or significantly lower than what there is historical sales data for, where you can then flip it on Amazon and squeeze margin out of it. And once you do this for a ton of books, like 100 books, 500 books, 1,000, 10,000 books, you're going to start getting notifications every single day. And then you kind of have to determine whether or not you should buy the book once you get the notification. So this is the criteria that I go through to determine if I should buy the book or not. And it's basically a 5-part checklist. I do this all in my head, and I'll actually show you how I use this in the next book so that we can actually look at the next example. All right, so that book is a diagnostic classification of mental health book. I bought this on Amazon for $64, flipped it for $249, and made a profit of $140. So let's go and take a look at the listing. You can see that I did in fact buy this book on June 7th. And if I look down at the Keepa chart, you'll see that, again, 2 things. You'll see the sales rank that indicates when the book sold. The black line indicates the price at the time when the sales rank dropped. So it gives you an indication of what the book could have sold for. And then lastly, you see this dotted line at the bottom. And this dotted line represents the tracking price. So if I go here to track product and I update my existing tracker, you'll see that right now I'm tracking it for $70. And when I started tracking this back in May, the price of the book, it looks like, actually just dropped at that point. So I actually found the book using the Keepa Deals page. Like, that's where I actually found the book. But on May 4th, when I found the book, I decided to start tracking it for that $70 amount. And, about a month went by, and a couple of times here, June 3rd, June 7th, June 10th, that actually happened where the price of the book went below $70. I received an email notification. I also received a text message. And from there, I went through this checklist, this criteria to figure out if I should actually buy it. So again, the $70 that I decided to use is kind of an arbitrary number, but what you have to realize is that it's a number that is at a place where it'd be profitable to buy that book. Okay, so let's go through the checklist here together. So the first thing is there historical sales at 2 to 3x the current price? So I was tracking this for $70. It turns out that on June 7th, the price went all the way down to $66.99. So basically, has this book sold for 2 or 3x that price? So has it sold for like 130 plus? That'd be 2x the price. Has it sold for like 180 plus? That'd be like 3x the price. So again, if we look at some historical data and we look at when that sales line drops, like, just in May alone, you see a handful of these drops where the price was over $200. So yeah, there's definitely clear historical data to show that the book is sold for 2 to 3x that current price. Is the used offer count not too high? You want to be careful with used offer counts because really this is like the classic supply and demand, where if there are a lot of copies of something, meaning there's a lot of people trying to sell the book, then generally the price is going to be a lot lower because there's more competition to get people or to get customers to buy the book. So in this case, if we look at the black line, which is the used offer price, was the used offer count too high? And historically, it was actually very low at that time, because when I bought this during June 7th, right, the used offer count was about 2 to 3. And if we see when the book was selling for 2 to 3x the current price, the used offer count was right around that amount. Now, the place that you get in trouble, or I guess where you want to look out, what you want to look out for here is if, let's say, when the price of this book went down to $70, all of a sudden the used offer price, the number of used offers jumped up to like, let's say 10, 15, 20, then maybe you would have a little bit of pause and say, okay, well, there's a lot of competition. Maybe it doesn't make sense to buy it at that price. But because it was 2 to 3x the current price, also the used offer count didn't go up significantly. That was like the first 2 check marks. Like, that's good. The next question is this closest to the lowest price ever? And that simply is just a metric for, are you actually getting a good deal for the book? Because if the book has been a lower price in the past, then you buying it today at a price that's not as low as it's been in the past isn't really a great deal. And really the goal is you're trying to buy the book undervalued. So if you're buying the book for more than what it's been before in the past, then maybe you're not really buying the book when it's super undervalued. But in this case, it looks like that value, about $67, right around here, is about the lowest used price we've seen in the last year. If we go further out into time, the price of this book was actually significantly lower when Amazon was in stock. But since Amazon went out of stock, the price of this book went significantly up. So in the last, year and a half, historical data, this was the lowest used price that you could buy the book for. The fourth thing is there a newer edition? You have to be careful about books where there's newer editions, because if there are newer editions, then the edition you're looking at is an older edition. Less students are going to need it. And over time, the value of that book is going to go down, because there's going to be more people trying to sell the book. In other words, the supply is kind of staying the same, but there are fewer people buying the book because now they've transitioned, they moved on to the newer edition. So in this case, there isn't actually a newer edition, because if there were, there would be an actual link to the new product listing. And I guess I should back up and say that's not always true. Sometimes it's not there, but generally, if there is a newer listing, you'll actually see that here and you can click on it. So in this case, no, there wasn't a newer edition. And the final check is, would selling it at its historical price be profitable? In this case, definitely. If I buy this for $67 and I turn around and flip it for what it's historically sold for, $245, this is going to be a pretty easy way to make money. And you can actually see that I did that. And here's the proof that these books actually did so. I bought 2 copies of this book, and you can see one sold for $300 about 2 weeks ago. And the one that I'm showing you right now sold for $249. That sold 3 months ago. All right, the third book that I'm going to show you is called Managing Local Government Services. I bought this on Amazon for $28, flipped it for $125. It made a profit of $69. Let's go and take a look at the listing here. You can see that I did in fact buy this on May 20th. I actually bought 2 copies. And if we go down to the Keepa chart here and we zoom in on May 20th, again, this black dotted line was the price I was tracking the book for, which was $24.02. The price of this book went from, $38 all the way down to that about $23.55. It triggered the alert. I was sent an email. And then basically I went through the set of criteria up here that I just talked about to figure out, should I buy the book? Like, is it a good buy? And by the way, not every book that you set a tracker for that you get notified on are you going to actually decide to buy. Because like I said, when you look at the product and you go through the checklist, a lot of the times these things aren't true. Like maybe the used offer count is super high at that point in time, in which case you might not want to buy the book. Or maybe there's a newer edition available. So maybe when you get these notifications, I'm definitely not buying every single book. I would say of every, let's say 10 notifications I get, I might actually only buy like 2 or 3 of those books. So basically the notification is just for you to further look at the book because it's an opportunity to make money. But that doesn't mean, that when you set a notification, you're actually going to actually buy the book if if it triggers or hits that price. So why did I decide to buy the book? Well, if I looked back into recent history, there are a number or a cluster of sales right here for over $100. So, that first sort of check mark, historical sales at 2 to 3x the price. Yeah, if I could buy the book for $24 and there's historical data to show it sold for over $100, that's technically like 3 to 4x the price. Is the used offer count not too high? So if we look here at May 20th and we hover over the black used offer count, basically at that point in time, it was no different than it was when the book was selling for over $100. So it wasn't like we saw a huge increase in the number of used offers available. Is it close to the lowest price ever? Well, at that time in the past year, like that was pretty close to the lowest price ever. If we go back further into time, you can see that there were points in time where the price of this book was a little bit lower, like particularly right here in June of July 20th of 2019. There's actually, the book went down to $24. So historically, this book is pretty cheap. Like it's close to its lowest price ever. So that was good. Is there a newer edition available? Again, like I said, if there is a newer edition available, you're probably going to see it here. So it looks like the 3rd edition is actually the up-to-date or the newest edition. So that's good. And then finally, with selling it at its historical price, be profitable. Well, if you pick it up for $24 and you flip it for $100, like, yeah, that's totally going to be profitable. And so if I go over to my Amazon page where I show what the book sold for, you can see that I sold one a week ago. I sold one 5 days ago. One sold for $102. The other one sold for $124.99. All right, the last book we're going to look at it looks like a cookbook. I bought it for $27.18 on Amazon, sold it for $99 on Amazon, made a $50 profit. Here's the listing of that book here on Amazon. You can see I bought it on June 27th. If I go down to June 27th, the price of that book right here went down to $23, and not including shipping. And again, I went through the same sort of criteria, which was, it gets very repetitive. And by the way, I would recommend you do this at first, is like go through the checklist, make sure these things are true, but you'll get to the point where you'll be able to analyze all this stuff in your head within like 7 to 10 seconds, and you can move on or decide to buy. So historical sales at 2 to 3x the current price. Well, if I buy it for 27 and I look back at the recent past, there's about 5 or 6 sales of this book selling for over $150. So yeah, definitely there's historical sales at 2 to 3x or even actually more than that, the current price. What about the used offer count? Is it too high? Well, again, we hover over the black used offer count. It looks like at that point in time it was about the same or actually even lower than it was when the book was selling for over $170. So that's true. Is it close to the lowest price ever? Yeah, I mean, if we take a look at the tracker and we take a look at the past 2,500 days, maybe not the lowest price ever, since 2019, but Amazon went out of stock. It looks like this book came very rare. Like, I guess when people get the book, they don't want to give it up. And yeah, if we look at sort of the past, recent historical data, like the past year or 2 years, that's the cheapest you could have bought the book for. And is there a newer edition available? Again, you'll see that newer edition somewhere here if it is available. It looks like this is not really a textbook, actually. This is a cookbook. And yeah, there is no newer edition as of yet. Maybe there will be one in the future, but there isn't one now. And then finally, with selling it at its historical sales price, be profitable. We'll end up picking it up for $27. There's historical sales at 170. So yeah, totally, I could be profitable. And notice, by the way, that I didn't actually sell the book for $170. I actually, decided to sell it for a little bit cheaper, just due to the fact that the book doesn't sell super often. Like in the past year, there's only a handful, 5 or 6 drops, meaning, because the price of this book is really high right now, there's not that many people willing to buy the book. And so I said, well, let me go and put mine in there at $99.99, and I was actually able to sell. And I think I just kind of matched the lowest prime Amazon FBA seller. And you can see that when the sales rank dropped right here, this is actually when I did sell it. See this? So basically the sales rank dropped here on September 25th. And if I go back to my orders, you can see that this was purchased 3 days ago on September 25th. And the purchase price was a total of $99.99. All right, before we wrap this video up, last video I announced a 100 subscriber giveaway, and basically I was going to be giving away, this is an economics book. It's basically valued at well over $100. And I basically said, enter, just go and like the video, leave a comment, be subscribed. And it turns out there's only 4 people who entered, so your chances are pretty good. So what I did is I took each person who commented here and put them in a spreadsheet here. So you can see that these are the 4 people that went ahead and commented. And we're going to go ahead and figure out who the winner of this book is right now. So I'm just going to go to a random number generator. Basically, the number here, 1 is Jarkety, if I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. 2 is Blaine, 3 is Gina, 4 is Rich O'Gilly. So random number generator, min is 1, max is 4. Whatever number pops up here is going to correspond to the winner, and basically that'll be the winner. So here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and is number 4. So the giveaway winner is Rich Hill Jilly. So Jilly, to basically get this book, all you need to do is send me a DM on Instagram. So my Instagram is just Joji Davenport. And once you send me the DM, give me your address, and I'll be sure to send you the book. And thanks for watching, everybody. That's all I have for you today. We'll do future giveaways, so don't worry if you didn't win this one. Your odds are pretty good if you do enter. So that's all I have for you today. Consider liking, subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.